What is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? It's your boy Goblin, and today we're coming in with a banger of a video. An absolute hoot and a holler. In fact, this is such a fresh hoot that this only happened like 2 days ago. I hope you guys enjoy this video. Drop a like if you do. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And also, make sure to head over to my Twitch account and hit the follow. We stream every day pretty much. I mean, sometimes I forget, so we're going to say not every day guaranteed, but I stream on Twitch a lot and we get intoxicated. So pull up, come join the party live. It's a fun time. We're going to be streaming tonight, so make sure you don't miss out. But hope you guys enjoyed this video, and without further ado, let's dive right into it. So this happened literally 2 days ago. I mean, this is a very, very fresh event. Now, on this past Sunday evening, I had linked up with a friend of mine from high school who we're going to refer to in this video as Brad. Now, Brad is someone I've known for a long time. He's definitely been in some of my past videos, and he comes back up every now and then to where I'm living now, which is around my hometown, just to visit. So this past weekend, he was back in town, and him and I were hanging out a little bit, and on Sunday, we decided that we wanted to hit a bar and watch the Super Bowl. There was a bar that was fairly close to his place that he'd mentioned, so I told him I would just meet him there. So I hop in my car and I drive over to the bar, and he's already in there. So I head inside and he's waiting at the bar, and we're chatting a little bit and everything's normal. I didn't even order a drink at first. Like, we were just chilling out, chatting it up, and eventually I get tapped on the shoulder. I turn around and there's this dude standing behind me, and he says to me, he's like, "Are you Goblin?" And this doesn't happen to me very often. You know, listen, I'm a crack tuber, okay? It's not like I'm getting a bunch of people flagging me down in public and recognizing me. So this is not an extremely common occurrence. Pardon me. I said a common. I don't know, dude. I'm kind of zooted right now. But, you know, of course I said yes, and I'm like, "What's going on, man?" And as we're chatting and he introduces himself to me, I realize pretty quickly that he is not a very big fan of my content. He only knows me through Eric Kahn's content, who's a good friend of mine and another YouTuber, for those of you guys who haven't heard of him. We're talking, and the entire time he's asking me, he's like, "Yeah, like, you're that guy who hangs out with Eric. Like, he's cool as hell." And he's talking about him. And I'm like, "Yeah, you know, like, that's my boy. You know, he's a cool dude. Love him. That's the homie, you know." So we're chatting a little bit, getting along. And he offers to buy me and my homie Brad some shots. So I'm like, "Yeah, bro, like, let's do it." Now, when he suggested the shots, initially I offered to pay. And this is a big part of the story that'll come into play later. But initially I offered to pay. I was very insistent. I was like, "Yo, I got it. Don't worry, man. Like, the shots are on me." But he was adamant about paying. This dude was like, "No, no, no. I got you, man. Like, I'll pay. Don't you worry about it. Put that wallet away." This guy almost forced my wallet out of my hands. So I thank him for the round. I'm like, "Hey, you know, I appreciate it, man." And this dude introduces me to his dad. His dad's sitting next to us the whole time. And he introduced me. He's like, "Yeah, this is my dad, by the way," you know? So I shake his hand. I'm like, "Hey, what's going on?" And he's telling his dad, he's like, "Dad, like, this is a guy I watch on YouTube. Like, he knows Eric Kahn," as if his father's supposed to know who the hell we are. You know, like, this guy has no clue, and he definitely couldn't give any less shits about us. But either way, I dap up his dad. I'm like, "What's going on, Pops? What's up, OG?" You know, introduce myself. And we get 4 shots, one for each of us, myself and Brad, and then this guy and his dad, right? I don't even want to give him a name because I'm disgusted by his actions, but we'll get to why I'm disgusted with him later. So we get our first round of Patron shots, and she throws in a line with each of them, the nice little bartender lady, and we take our shots, you know? We're chatting it up for a little bit, and this guy's talking to me, and I'd say we were talking, going back and forth for maybe a good 20 minutes. You know, my friend Brad was sitting at the bar talking to this dude's dad, and I'm talking to him, right? I'm talking to the guy who said he was a viewer of mine, right? So we're chatting it up after the shot, and eventually Brad taps me on the shoulder, and he tells me, he's like, "Yo, we got to go pick up." Now, listen, my friends are cokeheads, okay? Brad is like a missionary of our cokehead friends. So, like, he was going to re-up for all my other friends. Like, everyone was selling money to the plug already, their Coke plug, and he was just going to grab it. So he tells me, he's like, yo, like, I gotta go grab this shit. And at that point, Brad was the only one that I went to the bar with. Now, I had other friends at the bar, but they were working. You see, the reason that we went to this bar is because we had a mutual friend who had worked there, and he was on shift this night. So we knew that we were chilling, we were getting hooked up, and we were in a chill little establishment, you know? No worries. So Brad tells me that he's got to go pick up, and he asks if I want to come with. And I'm like, yeah, fuck it, you know? Like, I don't really want to sit here alone with no one I know except for this dude's OG, so I'll go. Now, the dude who was talking to me, I feel like we should give him a name, so I stopped referring to him as the dude. I don't know. We're just going to call him Larry. So Larry asked me, he's like, oh, like, you guys leaving? Where are you going? So I tell him, I'm like, yeah, like, my homie's going to pick up some blow. And I guess his dad overheard that and kind of shot me a look. And the guy's like, yo, don't say that, bro. My dad's here. And I'm sitting here like, dude, what did you expect? What do you think you're getting into? You're walking up to the guy with a crack video and an entire rehab series, and you're telling me not to talk about drugs. You signed up for this, my boy. So me and my homie Brad, we hop in the car and we dip out. And as we're driving over to his Coke Plug's place, we're chatting a little bit. And he's telling me, he's like, yeah, I guess that dude who knew you is like a mutual friend, you know? I was talking to one of my homies, and there was a few people that Brad was friends with that I wouldn't say I was as close of friends with at the bar. So he's telling me, he's like, yeah, one of my friends who was there told me that he was friends with that guy, you know? So it was like a friend of a friend of a friend kind of situation where me and this dude who came up to me had some mutual friends. So I'm like, oh, that's cool, you know, awesome, great. Don't think much of it. Now, we get over to the Coke Plug's house, and this is not my Coke Plug. I want to make that clear. Listen, once my guy went to jail, I knew that things would never be the same in my nasal cavity, so that's one of the big reasons that I quit, right? My Coke Plug's not getting out for probably a solid 15 years, so maybe when I'm almost 40, I'll reconsider this stance. But as of right now, no one's blow in the area really hits the same, and I haven't really felt much of an urge to get real back into it. Now, my friends, on the other hand, after my guy went to jail, he was the same dude who was serving the rest of my friend group, so they all had to branch out and find someone new, and they did. They found an interesting character. Now, I'm going to try to describe him very loosely, but in enough of a way where you guys can get kind of a picture of him. He's not a very big guy, and he looks like he's seen some shit, but not because he has a lot of tattoos or anything. He just kind of looks older than he is. He looks like a veteran. I mean, this guy has seen some shit, and to be fair, he was in jail for a while as far as I know, so he probably has seen some shit. But this dude, you know, you look at him and you're like, damn, this guy kind of looks like a crackhead. And then you talk to him and he's actually a pretty normal guy. So I've met him a couple times prior to this, just through my friends picking up blow and this dude pulling up. So it was no surprise that this is who they were going to. So we ride over to the Coke Plug's house and we're chilling in there. And he actually got there at about the same time as us. This dude was still sitting in his car. So we walk inside and we're chilling out and he's sitting at the table. Now, Coke Man looks fed up and he starts venting to us. He's like, yeah, I was just at this chick's house, like her and I were arguing, I need some fucking blow. So he opens up his little cigarette box and pulls out a baggie and he pours out some on the table and he asks my boy Brad to chop up for him while he goes and grabs the blow to serve us. Now, I was sitting at the other end of the table and this man poured out a good amount of blow. I mean, I would guesstimate it was at least 1.2. He poured out a lot. So Brad assumed that some of it was for him as well. He was like, oh, okay, you know, I guess he's offering me a line too. So he starts chopping it up and separating it, and he makes just kind of one big mound out of it to leave it up to Coke Man to sort it himself. Now, when Coke Man comes back downstairs with the bag that he was going to serve us, we're sitting there and we're expecting him to do his line and then pass it to Brad so he can do his line next, and then we get out of there. Instead, Coke Man sits down and rails this entire mountain of blow like it is nothing. And then he looks over to Brad and he's like, oh, did you pour some out like for you too? And Brad was like, well, I thought that shit was for both of us. And he's like, oh, my bad, dude. I'm just having a bad day right now. I needed that shit. I'm not lying to you. That was one of the largest lines I think I've ever seen anyone take. Like, I thought I was bad back in my Coke Chronicles days, but this dude just railed a quarter gram like it was nothing. I was shook. Me and Brad were looking at each other and I just started geeking, dude. I couldn't hold it in. I couldn't believe it. I'm sitting there like, this guy's about to have a heart attack, dude. We're not leaving this house. So he throws us the bag and we skedaddle on out of there. We figure that this man's probably about to go into a Coke rage in T-minus 5 minutes. He sat down on the toilet, started tapping his knee, and sparked up a cigarette. And I knew at that point that it was time to go. So we skedaddled on out of there. And as we're leaving, we were planning already to go back to the bar anyways. But as we're in the car driving back, and it's about a 20-minute drive from the bar, Brad gets a call from our homie who worked at the bar that we were just at. Now, he sounds pissed on the phone. He's telling Brad, he's like, yo, you guys dipped without paying your tab. And we're sitting there confused because the only drinks that I had ever got was the shots that dude offered me to buy. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, bro, I didn't even order any drinks. And Brad's like, yeah, dude, like, I don't know what our tab could possibly be. So he says that to him, and then our homie on the phone reads back the tab. The tab was for 6 shots of Patron, and that's it. So we're sitting there, and we're like, that's kind of weird. Like, why is it 6 shots, you know? We only got 4 to begin with. So even if that guy forgot, it's still an incorrect tab. And we're sitting there, and we're thinking, and then that's when we realized. I sat there, and I was like, oh, shit. They ordered, after we left, this dude and his dad ordered another 2 shots for themselves and then dipped without paying. So I'm sitting there and I'm blown, dude. I'm trying to think to myself, I'm like, maybe it was a drunk accident. Like maybe they just walked out and the bartender didn't say anything. And at first, that's what I really thought it was. But our homie at the bar, our homie who worked there, told us otherwise. He explained the situation. He was like, yeah, I was talking to the bartender and she was super pissed. Apparently, he's pretty good friends with this girl. And she said that she had tried to give them the tab to pay it, and when it came time to pay, the dude tried to ask his dad to pay the tab, and his dad was like, hell no, I'm not paying that. So apparently, he just said that we were going to pay it, even though we had already left and just skedaddled. This is according to the bartender there. So I'm sitting there, and I'm like, wow, dude, it wasn't a drunk accident. This guy's actually just a dickhead. You know, listen. It's one thing if he just made a mistake, you know, maybe he was drunk and just left without paying. But he was presented with the bill and he refused to pay it. And on top of that, after we left, this guy ordered another shot for him and his dad and then stuck us with the tab. So I tell my homie on the phone, I tell Brad to pass me the phone and I say, I'm like, yo, don't worry about it. We'll come back and pay it right now. Like, don't stress it. We were already planning to go back there anyways. You know, it was no biggie. Brad was geeked up and I was ready to drink some more liquor because I wasn't doing any blow. So we rode back to the bar and we walked in and I mentioned the tab to the bartender and she was not very happy. Like, she shot me this look and I was sitting there like, shit, man. So she gave me the tab and it was almost $60 for those 6 shots, which was kind of awful. But I paid and I felt really guilty. So I tipped very well, which is the only thing that saved our ass. Because we were told later that those other guys who walked out without paying were banned from the bar. And we were told that if we hadn't come back and paid, we would have been the ones banned instead of them. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, shit, dude, like, thank you we have an in guy, because if not, it would have been over with. Granted, this is not a bar that I had ever been to before. Like, I had literally never stepped foot in this establishment in my life. But if I get banned from somewhere, you best believe it's going to be because I earned that ban. It's not going to be because some other little dickhead decided to offer shots and then skimp the tab on the bartender. No, no, no. If I get banned, it's because I committed a felony in that bitch. No ifs, ands, or buts. So at this point, I had paid the tab, and the bartender already told us that last call happened while we were gone, which I found a little weird because it was like 9:30 p.m. So I think maybe they were just a little pissed about the tab that we didn't pay, but whatever, dude. I mean, it is what it is. I'm not going to sit here and argue, but I came back and paid the tab, and now I was pissed off. I'm sitting there, and I'm like, dude, This guy did that on purpose, and he ordered more shots and made us pay it. Like, listen, if it was just the 4 shots, I wouldn't have been that upset because I offered to pay them to begin with, right? The money was not the issue. The 4 shots were not the issue. It's the fact that he then ordered 2 more shots for him and his bald-ass fucking father while me and my homie were gone, and then said to the bartender that we were paying for that. That's what pissed me off. I offered to pay for the round of shots that we had together, not all the drinks for you and your fucking Johnny Sins ass bald head father, okay? So I was pissed at this point. So after we close the tab, we leave the bar and, we go our separate ways back to Brad's house. We decided that we were going to link up there. So I hop in my car because I drove there. Brad hops in his, and we drive back over to Brad's house. Now, once we get to Brad's house, I remembered the fact that he said that we had some mutual friends with that kid. So I tell him, I'm like, yo, you should call whichever one of your homies knows that guy and, tell him about the tab, and he's like, yeah, good point. So he grabs his phone and he calls up the other friend of his who knows this guy. This is just like a chain of friends, basically, like a friend of a friend of a friend. So he calls up other homie and tells him the situation. Another homie's like, yeah, he probably did it on accident. Let me call him. And I'm sitting there in the back of my head and I'm like, no, he didn't, bro. Listen, homie who already works at the bar and the bartender, the chick bartender, both told us the same story. I know that shit was not an accident, but whatever. So he calls up his homie, and I'm hoping that maybe he'll just pay for it. Maybe I'll just get my money, and then we're fine. Then we're good. That's not what happens at all. Instead, the kid is kind of just like, fuck that, dude. I'm not paying for that. I think what happened is he expected his dad to pay for it since he was there, and when the bill was presented to his dad, and his dad said, hell no, I think the dude probably realized I don't have the money for that, or I'd rather spend the money for that on weed. So off he went. Very Goblin viewer moment. Listen, I'm telling you guys right now, if you guys ever bump into me in person, I am happy to link up and take shots with you. And I'm even happy to pay for them. But don't say you're going to pay for them and then skimp the tab and make me look bad. That's what made me mad, right? So the guy ended up being a hoe about it. My friend, he hit back Brad and he was like, yeah, he's being a hoe about it. He's not really going to pay. And I wasn't going to sit there and be like, give me his number, dude. I'm going to fuck this kid up over $60, So I was just like, all right, well, he's a hoe. And then I remembered that he was a very big fan of Eric Kahn. So I texted Eric and I said, yo, Eric, you remember that kid that I was talking to you with on FaceTime earlier? I was nice enough to FaceTime Eric and let this guy meet him, let this guy talk to him because he was a huge fan. I call up Eric. I'm like, yo, you remember that kid earlier? You ever see that kid? Don't fuck with him, dude. He skimped the tab. I burnt that bridge for him, dude. Realistically, he's never going to see him again. But you know what? It made me feel better about it. I was like, yeah, I burnt the bridge with his favorite YouTuber. Hey, what a dick, What a dick. Listen. It's just the 2 shots at the end that pissed me off. But we got back to Brad's house, and he started getting geeked off the Blowcane. And then our homie who worked at the bar ended up clocking out, and he came over and started getting geeked off the blow. And I was sitting there performing highly on Mario Golf on the GameCube. That's kind of the strat with me and the homies. We smoke some weed, they do some coke, and then we all play Mario Golf on the GameCube, which, by the way, is a goated video game. But either way, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to drop a like if you did. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And also make sure to head over to my Twitch at GBLN420. Don't miss the Twitch streams, man. We're live all the time. Pull up, come join the family. See you guys there. Have a good night. Thank you guys for tuning in. Peace out, y'all.